Some relationships look perfectly fine from the outside. People even admire them. But inside, you feel more and more drained. Not because you fight, not because love is missing, but because every time you're with that person, you feel like you have to adjust yourself. You adjust your words. You adjust your emotions. You even adjust your breathing. At first, you tell yourself this is normal. Everyone compromises when they love. Everyone adapts when they share life with someone else. But over time, you start to feel empty. Your energy runs out. I once met a woman like this. She had a natural healing presence. Anyone who talked to her felt lighter afterward. But her love life was difficult. Every relationship started out well. Then, at some point, she would need to disappear for a few days, to write, to meditate, to process emotions she couldn't even name. Her partner would begin to feel anxious, abandoned. She tried to explain, but the more she explained, the more distant things became. Eventually, she chose to be alone, not because she didn't want love, but because she couldn't hold both her calling and a relationship that demanded constant presence. There are seasons in life when love is not the priority, not because love doesn't matter, but because when it arrives at the wrong time, it can pull you off the path you're meant to walk. Like an athlete in peak training, they can't live the way everyone else does, not because they look down on pleasure, but because scattered energy means they'll never reach the finish line. Not everyone is meant to have many relationships. Some people only need one true connection. But before that connection arrives, they must learn how to stand alone. Without resentment, without hardening themselves, they learn how to stay soft without being careless. The more aware you become, the more clearly you see human imperfection. But you also stop fantasizing about finding a perfect person. The issue isn't that you want someone without flaws. The issue is that you don't want someone who refuses to look at their own wounds. You're not searching for perfection. You're searching for honesty. As you mature and awaken, fewer people truly understand you. Fewer people stay, and loneliness becomes sharper. There are moments when you ask yourself, did I do something wrong? Why is it that the kinder I become, the more aware I am, the more disconnected I feel? Why do I long for real connection, yet find myself surrounded by shallow ones? The deepest pain isn't having no one around. It's being surrounded by many people who never truly reach you. You speak of depth. They speak of the surface. You seek understanding. They seek convenience. You change, while the old world stays exactly the same. So you begin to doubt yourself, your path. You even question whether awakening is truly a good thing. But what if I told you that this loneliness is not a punishment? It's a phase. A process, a preparation. In this video, we go deep into that truth. Why are awakened people often lonely? Why does greater understanding and compassion make love harder? Why do some connections arrive intensely but painfully? And why does real love so often come late? If you've ever felt different, if you've ever felt that you no longer belong in old relationships, this video isn't here to teach you something new. It's here to explain what you've quietly known for a long time. Stay until the end, because you may finally understand why life is separating you now, before offering you a connection that truly matches you. And if you want to walk alongside stories that heal, reflect, and shift perception in a grounded way, don't forget to follow the channel so we can continue this journey together. There comes a time in life when you realize you no longer speak the same language as many people from your past. Not because they're bad, not because you're better. It's just that conversations that once made you laugh now feel flat. Meetings that once excited you now feel like obligations. You still sit there. You still listen. You still nod. But inside, there's an emptiness, like standing in a crowded room where no one is truly with you. This change happens quietly. No drama, no clear warning signs. One day, you no longer enjoy complaining. You no longer want to bond through gossip. You no longer feel comfortable pretending to agree with things you no longer believe. And from that moment on, a distance forms, unspoken, but felt by everyone. Someone once told me it felt like leaving a loud party. While you're inside, the music is so loud you can't think. But when you step outside, you realize your ears are ringing, your head is spinning, and your heart is exhausted. You need silence. Not because you hate the party, but because you can no longer tolerate the noise. Awakening works the same way. It doesn't make you superior. It makes you more sensitive. You start sensing what you once ignored. The falseness in a smile, the emptiness beneath fun conversations. The way some relationships exist only out of habit, not presence. And once you see these things, you can't unsee them. This is where many people begin to hurt. They think they're being pushed away, left behind, misunderstood. They try to return to their old selves to keep others close. They laugh louder, think less, drink more, stay busy. But the harder they try, the more exhausted they become, because their soul no longer fits the old shape. Wearing it feels tight, taking it off feels cold. There's a very ordinary story that many will recognize themselves in. A woman, after many upheavals, begins to slow down. She reads, she meditates, she learns to listen to herself, and gradually, gatherings with friends become less frequent. No one hates her. No one blames her. They just don't know what to say to her anymore, and she doesn't know who she would have to become to fit back in. She cried, not because she lost others, but because for the first time, she realized she no longer belonged to her old world. This kind of loneliness is unique. It's not the loneliness of lack. It's the loneliness of transformation, like a caterpillar entering a cocoon. From the outside, it looks like a disappearance. Inside, something enormous is happening. If it emerges too early, it can't fly. The problem is, no one teaches us how to move through this stage. Society teaches us to blend in, to match, to couple up, to belong. So when we're separated, we assume we're wrong. But the truth is, some seasons require solitude, not as punishment, but as reconstruction. To learn how to be with yourself without performing. To know who you are without the crowd reflecting you back. And this is something many people need to hear. This loneliness doesn't last forever. It lasts only until you stabilize your new frequency, until silence no longer scares you, until unanswered messages no longer panic you, until you stop rushing to fill emptiness with temporary relationships. At that point, you become a space calm enough for the right person to enter. If you feel lonelier than before, you may not be abandoned. You may be separated so you can grow at a deeper level. Don't rush to reshape yourself to fit relationships that no longer fit you. Use this time to understand how you're changing, what you truly need, what you've outgrown. When you stop fearing being alone, you stop entering relationships just to escape loneliness. After getting used to silence, something else becomes clearer. You feel more than others. Not because you're weak, but because you no longer shut your emotions down. You enter a room and sense whether the energy is heavy or light. You speak with someone and feel what they're hiding. Even when their words are ordinary, beneath them lies an unnamed exhaustion. This sensitivity didn't appear by accident. It was forged through pain, loss, breaking apart, and rebuilding yourself. Some people live their entire lives without ever going deep within themselves. You have. So when you return to everyday life, everything feels shallow, not inferior, just incompatible. I once met a man in his 40s, kind, stable, a family, friends. He said something I never forgot. You know, I feel like I always love people more than they love me, not because they're bad, just because I'm always waiting for them to catch up. He wasn't angry. He was tired. Tired of shrinking his emotions to fit others. People like this get labeled as difficult, picky, overly emotional. But the truth is, they're not asking for too much. They just can't tolerate shallow connections anymore. They don't want love out of habit. They don't want to sit beside someone while pretending everything is fine. They need real presence, rare, but deep. This is where the idea of the old soul begins to make sense, not as something mystical, but as something deeply human. Some people have lived enough inner life that surface-level connections no longer satisfy them. They don't seek someone to fill a void. They seek someone who can sit in silence with them without discomfort, and that is rare. That rarity often leads to a painful misunderstanding, believing you love the wrong people, or that love simply isn't for you. But the issue isn't that you don't know how to love. It's that you know how to love too well. You can sense when a relationship exists out of fear of loneliness. You can feel when someone comes out of need, not desire. And once you see that, you can't close your eyes again. Many people try loving again during this phase. They meet someone new, feel a spark, feel hope. But after a few months, a familiar exhaustion returns. Not from conflict, not from betrayal, just from explaining too much, holding back too much, slowing yourself down so you don't overwhelm the other person. They realize this kind of love isn't wrong. It's just draining. There's a metaphor I love. It's like you've learned to live in deep water. Movements are slow. Sounds travel differently. Then you swim into shallow water to stay with someone. At first, it's fine. But over time, you can't breathe properly. Not because shallow water is bad, but because your lungs have changed. The hardest part isn't failing to find the right person. It's constantly questioning yourself. Should I feel less? Should I simplify? Am I asking for too much? But if you answer honestly, you'll see. You're not asking for more. You're just unwilling to trade inner peace for a relationship that looks normal from the outside. And here is a quiet truth worth holding. Not everyone is meant to have many relationships. Some people need just one true connection. But before it arrives, they must learn to stand firmly alone, without bitterness, without closing their heart, without hardening themselves. They learn to stay soft, without being careless. If you love deeply, feel deeply, and because of that, find love harder than before, that doesn't mean you're wrong. It means you've outgrown shallow connections. Don't make yourself smaller to fit someone else. Learn to protect your sensitivity, not by closing off, but by choosing carefully. When loneliness stops feeling like an enemy, you'll stop giving your heart to people who aren't ready to hold it. After a while, you begin to notice something strange. Some relationships look completely fine from the outside. People even praise them. But inside, you feel more and more exhausted. Not because of arguments, not because love is missing, but because every time you're with that person, you feel like you have to adjust yourself. You adjust your words. You adjust your emotions. You even adjust your breathing. At first, you think this is normal. Everyone compromises in love. Everyone who shares life with another person has to adapt. But as time goes on, you feel your energy draining. Meetings leave you depleted instead of nourished. Conversations leave you heavy instead of open. And a difficult question begins to surface. Why do I have to try so hard just to be with one person? Someone once shared with me that every time she came back from spending time with her partner, she didn't feel happy or sad, just tired. So tired that she had to lie still for a long time before she felt like herself again. But when she was alone, reading, walking, or simply sitting quietly, she felt light. She didn't understand what was happening until she realized she was loving a very good person, but one who did not share the same inner rhythm. A mismatch in emotional frequency rarely announces itself loudly. It doesn't explode into tragedy. It erodes quietly, like listening to two different pieces of music playing at the same time in a closed room. Neither song is wrong, but together, they create a dissonance that's hard to tolerate. You can't relax, you can't settle, and over time, all you want is to leave. Many people at this stage start blaming themselves. They think they're too sensitive, too demanding, too difficult to love. But the truth is, your body and emotions are sending very clear signals. They are not rejecting love. They are rejecting the constant shrinking of yourself just to keep a connection that no longer feels natural. Some relationships require you to speak less, think more simply, feel more shallow. No one asks you to do this out loud. You do it yourself because you're afraid of making the other person uncomfortable. Little by little, you dim your own light. Not because you want to, but because it feels too bright for the person in front of you. And that is the moment love begins to drain you. I once heard a sentence that feels deeply true. You're not exhausted from loving. You're exhausted from loving out of sync. When two people don't share the same depth of feeling, one of them will always have to adjust. And the one who adjusts more will always be more tired. Not because they are weaker, but because they feel more deeply. The hardest part is that this misalignment is often misunderstood as a lack of effort. People looking from the outside say, "There's nothing really wrong. Breaking up would be such a waste. Just try a little harder." But they don't live in your body. They don't feel what it's like to restrain yourself every day, to stay silent when you should speak, to smile when something inside you has already collapsed. There is a truth very few people dare to admit. Love doesn't only require emotion. It requires energetic compatibility. When two people are together and one feels lighter while the other feels heavier, sooner or later someone will break. And it's usually the more sensitive one, the deeper one, the one who has traveled further inward. At this stage, many people face a painful choice: stay and slowly turn yourself off, or leave and face the emptiness. Neither choice is easy, but one thing is clear: staying while losing yourself is not love. It's erosion disguised as sacrifice. Emotional maturity isn't always about learning to endure more. Sometimes it's about learning to listen honestly to what's happening inside. If you are constantly exhausted in a relationship, that isn't a weakness. That's truth knocking. Not every draining relationship means you're not good enough. Some relationships simply exist on different frequencies, and love cannot survive long in that kind of misalignment. Pay attention to how you feel after each meeting. Do you feel fuller or emptier? That feeling is more honest than any promise. Don't hold on to a connection by making yourself smaller. The right love never asks you to dim yourself in order to stay. After accepting that not every relationship is meant to last, you begin to touch a deeper layer of truth. There are seasons in life when, no matter how hard you try, everything related to love feels unfinished. Not because you aren't good enough, not because you don't know how to love, but because life is pulling you in a different direction. This phase often arrives quietly. No major crisis, no clear explanation. You just find yourself needing more time alone, more silence to think, more space to do something private, deep, and real. And every time you try to force a relationship into that space, you feel torn, as if you're living two lives at once. I once met a woman like this. She had a healing presence. Anyone who spoke with her felt lighter afterward. But her love life was difficult. Every relationship began well. Then, at some point, she needed to disappear for a few days. To write, to meditate, to process emotions she couldn't name. Her partner grew anxious, felt abandoned. She tried to explain, but the more she explained, the farther apart they became. In the end, she chose to be alone. Not because she didn't want love, but because she couldn't hold both her calling and a relationship that demanded constant presence. Some people are born to live very ordinary lives, and they are happy that way. But others carry a different kind of calling. It isn't loud. It isn't glamorous. It simply repeats itself quietly inside you, especially when you try to ignore it. It tells you to write something, to create something, to help someone. And to do that, you need a great deal of focused energy. A calling doesn't always mean something grand. Sometimes it's simply the need to heal yourself fully so you don't pass your wounds on to others. Sometimes it's learning how to stand alone so that when you do love, you don't love from fear. But whatever it is, a calling always asks you to be present with yourself first. There is a common misunderstanding that causes a lot of pain. People think that if they have a calling, love will never come. That isn't true. There are seasons when love simply isn't the priority, not because it doesn't matter, but because if it arrives at the wrong time, it can pull you off the path you're meant to walk. Like an athlete in intense training, They can't live the way everyone else does, not because they look down on pleasure, but because scattered energy means they won't make it to the end. A personal call works the same way. When it calls strongly, everything else naturally steps back. The most uncomfortable part of this phase is comparison. You look around and see others paired up, married, enjoying ordinary happiness. You wonder why you have to walk the harder road. But if you're honest, you'll see that life doesn't actually fit you, not because it's lesser, but because it isn't yours. There is a crucial moment many people miss, the moment of distinguishing between true calling and avoidance. A true calling gives your life a sense of direction, even when you're alone. Avoidance leaves you restless and empty. If, when you're alone, you still feel a sense of direction, a sense of work, a sense of something wanting to be completed, you are likely moving in the right cycle. The solitude in this phase isn't lacking, it's focus. Life is narrowing the outside world so you can hear the inner one more clearly. If you resist it, you suffer. If you accept it, you grow quickly. Being alone isn't always a loss. Sometimes it's the only way to finish what you're here to do. Before entering a deeper connection, be honest with yourself about which cycle you're in. If life is pulling you inward, don't force yourself to love just to look like everyone else. When the calling quiets down, love will find space to arrive naturally, without force. After spending enough time alone, another change begins to happen, often unnoticed at first. The way you see others becomes different, not harsh, clearer. You're no longer drawn to surface-level things the way you once were. Nice words, a decent appearance, well-timed attention. They still matter, but they aren't enough. You start looking deeper, longer, more carefully. Many people mistake this for being picky, but the truth is, you're simply no longer careless with yourself. Before, you might have entered a relationship because emotions surged, because you feared loneliness, because you thought, why not try? Now, when someone comes close, you don't just ask, do I like them? You also ask quietly, can I be myself with this person? Do I have to shrink? Do I feel at peace? Someone once told me that she used to fall in love very quickly. Feeling compatible and happy was enough to begin. But after a deep inner shift, she found herself slowing down in a strange way. She still felt attraction. She still felt interested, but she was no longer in a rush. She needed to observe how the other person treated her when others were watching, how they reacted to disagreement, whether they were calm enough to sit beside her silence. And that slowness caused many people to leave. What hurts is that these standards are never written down. They're invisible. You can't clearly explain to others why you're not continuing. You only know that something doesn't align. Not wrong, but not right. Not bad, but not enough. And every time you turn down a connection like that, you start to question yourself. Am I being too strict? The truth is, you're not asking for too much. You're simply no longer accepting the things that once hurt you. You don't want to repeat the cycle of over-explaining. You don't want to tense yourself just to keep the peace. You don't want to enter a relationship that already feels like effort from the very beginning. These standards don't come from theory. They come from lived experience. There's a subtle paradox here. The more conscious you become, the more clearly you see human imperfection. Yet at the same time, you no longer hold the illusion that you'll meet a perfect person. The issue isn't that you want someone without wounds. The issue is that you don't want someone who refuses to look at their own wounds. You're not searching for perfection. You're searching for honesty. Many people at this stage fall into a very subtle trap. They turn awakening into a wall. They tighten their standards so much that no one can come close, and call it protecting their energy. But underneath, it's often fear. Fear of being hurt again. The line between discernment and emotional shutdown is thin, and only you know which side you're standing on. There's a small story I love. A man once turned down many relationships, not because he didn't feel anything, but because he felt he couldn't truly open. Until one day, he met someone who wasn't very similar to him, who didn't walk the same path, but who was deeply real. They didn't try to understand him through concepts. They didn't try to enter his inner world. They simply stayed listening, without urgency. And that simplicity is what made his inner walls fall on their own. This reminds us of something essential. Standards matter, but they are not meant to exclude people. They exist so you don't betray yourself. When standards come from clarity, they bring peace. When they come from fear, they create isolation. The difference is subtle, but you'll feel it if you're honest with yourself. At this stage, being alone is no longer a failure. It's simply the natural result of no longer choosing out of habit. And if you look closely, you'll see that you're not empty. You're waiting for a connection real enough, that it doesn't have to begin with self-sacrifice. The more you mature inwardly, the slower you love. Not because your heart has closed, but because you no longer place it where it can't be held. Listen carefully to where your standards are coming from. If they bring you peace, trust them. If they make you shrink in fear, gently look again. The right love doesn't ask you to lower yourself, and it doesn't ask you to build walls too high. It arrives when you're awake enough to open the door, and safe enough not to live in defense. There's a type of connection that almost everyone who goes deep inward experiences at least once. It comes fast. It comes strong. After only a few meetings, sometimes just a few sentences, you feel like you've known each other forever. Your heart beats faster. You think about them more than usual. The intensity convinces you. This must be someone special. And yet, that very connection often exhausts you faster than any other. The beginning is usually beautiful. You talk endlessly. You feel seen, understood, touched at very deep levels. But soon, instability appears. Sometimes very close, sometimes suddenly distant. Moments of intense affection followed by silence that makes no sense. You're pulled into an emotional vortex you can't fully explain. Some relationships don't need much reason to begin, but require immense strength to end. People inside them often ask, "Why do I know this is unhealthy? Yet I can't leave." The answer is this: it's not just love. It's karmic. Karmic love isn't something dark or mystical. It's simply old, unhealed patterns, replaying themselves through different people. Maybe you once loved someone who kept leaving, and later found yourself drawn again to people who couldn't stay. Maybe you once had to work very hard to be loved, and later kept entering relationships that demanded constant effort. What makes karmic connections dangerous is their intensity. That intensity is easily mistaken for deep love, but in truth, it's the collision of two unhealed wounds. Each person triggers the other's old pain, creating something both intoxicating and painful. I once heard someone say, "I've never loved anyone this much, and I've never hurt this much." That sentence alone is a clear sign of a karmic bond. These connections don't come to give you long-term happiness. They come to force you to face what you've been avoiding within yourself. The irony is that they often appear just when you think you've matured. When you believe you're aware enough, grounded enough, karma returns, subtly disguised. It comes with familiarity, with a sense of destiny, with the promise that this time will be different. But if you look closely, you'll see the same emotional loop: anxiety, insecurity, waiting, self-doubt. Many people believe that ending a karmic relationship means losing someone essential. In reality, they've completed a lesson, not a lesson about romance, but about boundaries, self-respect, and refusing to trade peace for intensity. Karmic relationships rarely end peacefully. They end in exhaustion, in depletion. In the moment you realize that even if you still care, you no longer have the strength to continue. If you're conscious enough, that moment becomes a major turning point. Because leaving a karmic bond isn't just leaving a person, it's leaving an old version of yourself, the version that hoped others would change, the version that endured pain to be loved, the version that believed suffering was the price of depth. After relationships like this, many people become more cautious. But that isn't a closed heart, it's maturity. You stop chasing intensity. You begin to distinguish between being stimulated and being nourished. That distinction is a clear sign of growth. Not every intense connection is destined for love. Some come to teach, not to stay. Look back at the relationships that hurt you most. Don't just ask what they did to you. Ask what you learned about yourself. Once the lesson is learned, karma has no reason to return in a new form. After surviving exhausting relationships, after rebuilding yourself from repeated heartbreak, something essential begins to form within you. You stop rushing, not because you no longer long for love, but because you understand that love isn't something to chase. It's something you need enough stillness to recognize. There's a subtle shift only those who've gone deep can feel. You stop seeking emotional explosions. You stop wanting someone to throw your heart into chaos. What you want now is simple: to breathe evenly next to someone, to be yourself without tension, to feel calm without boredom. The right love doesn't arrive in chaos. It arrives so quietly you might almost miss it. It may be someone who doesn't overwhelm you at first, but after every conversation, you feel settled. Someone who doesn't speak in grand depths, but shows up consistently. Someone who doesn't make you doubt your worth or force you to become someone else. Many people miss this kind of love because they're addicted to intensity. They're used to waiting, worrying, reading emotional signals. So when those patterns disappear, they assume something is missing. In reality, they're leaving an old cycle. I once heard someone say, "For the first time in my life, I love without fear, not afraid of loss, not afraid of abandonment, not afraid to speak their truth." That feeling is the mark of mature love, not because you're holding on to someone tightly, but because you're no longer losing yourself. The right love doesn't make you forget your purpose. It doesn't pull you off your path. It walks alongside you. Two people can be different without blocking each other. They may not fully understand each other's worlds, but they respect them. They may not always be together, but they move in the same direction. Most importantly, this love arrives only when you no longer need it to fill a void. When you've learned to be alone without panic. When you no longer choose someone out of fear of loneliness. When you're full within yourself, then you're no longer drawn to connections that drain you. There's a beautiful paradox in life. When you stop searching, what you seek finally has space to appear. Not because you gave up, but because you released pressure. You no longer need someone to prove your worth, and that's when you become easiest to love. Opening your heart again doesn't mean becoming naive. It means opening selectively. It means knowing you can love deeply without loving blindly. Allowing someone in without losing your boundaries. Understanding that if peace must be sacrificed to keep a relationship, that relationship isn't meant for you. And if, right now, you're still alone, remember this: you're not being left behind. You're moving more slowly so you don't have to turn back again. Everything you've been through wasn't meant to harden you. It was meant to make you soft and steady. The right love doesn't come to save you. It comes when you've already saved yourself enough. It doesn't make you perfect. It makes you feel enough. And when two whole people meet, love is no longer attachment. It becomes companionship. Real love doesn't make you lose yourself. It feels like coming home. Live fully as who you are now. Don't rush to fill the empty spaces. When you're calm enough not to search, you'll realize that what you've been waiting for is already very close. Not loud, not dramatic, but right.